Okay, well, you've asked for it. Everyone keeps saying, Chris Williams, take your Xerox selling skills and give us some of that. So I'm going to take a few minutes here and talk to you about the top 3 most important things that I've learned in my 23, almost 27 years of sales experience. So let me tell you a little bit about me. First of all, I came from Xerox Corporation a way long time ago. I figured out that I've trained over 1,000 Xerox reps over the years, or salespeople over the years. So I'm going to give you a couple of tips that I learned along the way. And I honestly believe that it doesn't matter what you're selling, whether you're a coach, consultant, real estate agent, you name it, I think that these strategies will work over and over again. And I sat down and I did some thinking and thought about if my 23-year-old daughter walked in after getting her first sales job and said, Mom, you've been doing sales for a really long time. What are the top 3 things you would tell me to make sure that you could guarantee my success? So I'm going to give you those top 3 things. So make sure you write them down because they're critical. So number 1 is the golden hour, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Number 2 is follow-up, critical piece. And number 3 is co-marketing. Those are the 3 things, and if you did these 3 things really well, and you change the way that you're currently doing business, you would absolutely increase the success that you're having in your current market, as well as creating more forever clients than you can imagine. So let's talk about golden hour first. I learned the golden hour strategy, or started using the words golden hour, after I worked with one of my mentors. She makes $125,000 a month doing direct sales. She's not a marketing person, she's not a salesperson. In fact, she's a single mom of 2 kids, no marketing experience to speak of. She was a coach for a college. And what I learned from her is that she said, one day I set my kids down, and I set them down and I told them this: Mommy needs to work 1 to 2 hours every single day doing outbound follow-up calls. And your job, children, because it's summertime and I know you're both here, and she had like an 8 or a 9-year-old girl and boy, she says, I'm going to give you 3 cards, and this is a great strategy. I'm going to give you a green card, a yellow card, and a red card. If you put the red card under my door, you better be dead or bleeding. You put the yellow card under my door, that's telling me that you need to talk to me as soon as possible, and as soon as I get finished, I'll be out. And the green card is that when I get done doing my outbound calls, that I'll be out to talk to you. Now, what was so critical about this is she set up this golden hour, this whole environment around herself to make it the most important thing that she was going to do that entire day. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. Think about some non-negotiable appointments that you have. Probably not very many of you wouldn't show up to jury duty. Probably not very many of you wouldn't show up to pay a ticket. Probably a lot of you would pay your taxes on time, or most of you would pay your taxes on time. Probably if your child needed a doctor's appointment, you'd make sure that that would happen. Maybe a dentist appointment, you'd make sure that would happen if your car needed repaired. So I was listing out all the non-negotiable appointments, and what I discovered was the government and the medical field has done a really good job to make sure that we have non-negotiable appointments. So what I'm suggesting here is your golden hour is a non-negotiable appointment with yourself. It will absolutely change your results right now, today. And good news is you don't need anything or any money to activate it. You can activate it tomorrow. The golden hour is this. You might want to write this down. The golden hour is that you make a decision. See, how it works is that when we all start making decisions, the first thing that we do is we decide. We decide we're going to do something different. Then we commit to doing it, right? And then until we actually do it and create action around it, it's just a really good idea. So if you're committed to doing this and making a difference in your income and your revenue and your sales results between now and the end of the year, trust me, golden hour is one of those very easy ways for you to begin. So the golden hour goes like this. So you select 1, 2, 3 hours a day where you're going to do outbound prospecting. I'm using those words on purpose because it's not filing, it's not following up, it's outbound calling to your prospects. To new prospects, it might be follow-up to your current prospects. It's designed to create more revenue. Now, the trick with your golden hour, now these are some of the tips that I learned from some of the mentors I've been working with over the last couple years. The tips behind the golden hour is that you absolutely have to know who you're going to call before your golden hour shows up. And I don't know if you're anything like me. If I have a free hour in my day that's not blocked out, that all of a sudden a client canceled or I end up getting some free time, if I don't have activities that I know that I can do, then what happens is I just start moving paper from one side of my desk to the other side of my desk. I wonder if you do that too. So what I know about the golden hours, if I go into the golden hour and I have a list of people that I'm going to talk to, and I have their names and phone numbers, and maybe even done a little bit of research on them, that I have much more success in making sure that my golden hour is effective and successful. So you block out in your calendar, it's an appointment with yourself, it's a non-negotiable appointment with yourself to do outbound calls to your prospects. So the next piece of the golden hour is to make a list of 100. I know some of you network marketers can say, I did that, that's old marketing. Well, it's really not old marketing, and it works very effectively. For the clients that I have that continually run a list of 100, so every day they make their outbound calls into their golden hour, right? They have their list of 100, and they're continually adding new people to their list, and on their list is a name, phone number, and oftentimes an email address, and maybe even a website. So, non-negotiable time with yourself, a list that you already know of who you're going to call, and then creating a list of 100 that you continually add to. Now let's talk a little bit about follow-up. Follow-up is so critical in this market. I'm going to give you 2 sales statistics. 80% of salespeople never follow up after the first interaction. 80% of them. 80% of decision makers do not decide until the 5th to the 12th interaction. So what does that tell you? If you follow up, don't you the second time, the third time, the fourth time, your increased chances of earning that business quadruple. So all I'm suggesting is put the golden hour in place, follow up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It doesn't need to be intense follow-up. It is not just email follow-up, and you have to trust me on this one. Follow up over the email, consistent email follow-up absolutely burns out your prospects and turns them off and makes them think that they're just a number in your book, not a personalized, customized proposal or prospect. Now, co-marketing is the last thing I wanted to talk to you about, and co-marketing is pretty easy. In this market, write this down, finding complementary businesses who have databases who you build a coactive relationship with that you can co-market and cross-market into each other's database. I'm going to give you one example, and I'm going to finish up this conversation on sales because you all need to get to your golden hour. But the number one thing on co-marketing, I'll give you an example. So I have a client who's a personal trainer, and she wanted to increase the number of clients she had on a monthly basis, and she didn't have a very big database. So I said, well, go out and find some complementary businesses and come back next week on your coaching call. So all of you in the tribe, go do this and then come to coaching next week, and we'll talk about some of the options that you have. And so she came back and she said, well, I know a chiropractor, I know a couple of them, and I know a couple acupuncturists, and I know a couple other kind of health practitioners that have complementary businesses. So she went to 3 chiropractors, and one actually took her up on it. Guess how many people he had in his database? 5,600 people in his database. And what he loved is he was a sports chiropractor, and she's a personal trainer, so they cross-marketed into each other's territory, and it was very successful, or into each other's businesses. And then she found an acupuncturist who wanted to do the same thing. So now they meet once a month, they plan their activities, they do educational classes into each other's database. She increased her clientele from 45 to 90 in less than 60 days. So what are the 3 things you're going to do right now, effective today or effective tomorrow at the very latest? You're going to put your golden hour, a non-negotiable appointment with yourself. You're going to commit to following up to all those prospects and not using just email. And you're going to go find some folks who are complementary businesses that you can co-market with. Those are my top 3 tips for increasing your sales and your revenue right now this year. Get to work.